G'day. My name's Painted Red. Today on the channel I want to talk about difficulty of Warframe. The first thing I want to talk about is AI. And I want to talk about this because every time an update for Warframe comes out, there's always something about the difficulty, lack of it. And every time someone talks about the difficulty of the game, someone always brings up how bad the AI is. I'm here to tell you the AI in Warframe is as good as it needs to be and is as good as it's ever going to get. The reason why, and I'm going to show you why increasing the AI isn't going to do anything to improve anything. So here we have we'll get together a couple of what you usually see in a void mission. Oh, for them. Is everything? Okay. So level 60, so that's about as high level as you're going to see most of the time outside of sorties and steel path and special case scenarios. So the AI. So, can someone explain to me what exactly the AI was meant to do to me? My Warframe thing's spinning around, it's jamming all their guns, armor's reflecting all their damage, and I am annihilating them. Just totally obliterated them, all of them, in seconds. We have all these Warframes, all capable of myriads of blowing you up with meteors, shredding you with glass, shredding you with claws, eating you alive, drowning you, devouring you, shredding you with chains, ripping you apart with the fucking rift. These things are capable of so much just absolute destruction. So what is the AI gonna do? The AI's got some basic bitch guns. That's it. And you want it to think of some way of Billy Bob over there that can't even see me, of it stopping me if I'm playing as Saren or something from just pressing my 4 and him being dead. I'm sorry, but what is the AI going to do to stop that? You saw what I did with Mesa then. There's a whole bunch of enemies here. All of them, look at them all. They can't even shoot me. Let alone do anything intelligent to stop me from just... Like, the only guy with any intelligence is this guy that walked away. And some people would argue that that's because he's a fucking idiot. And that his AI can't track to me to shoot me. So like, to get the intelligence of, to get this game to the point where intelligence would actually make a difference, you'd have to completely redesign it, like from the ground up. Everything would have to change. The amount of damage that enemies do, the amount of damage that we do, the amount of health we have, the amount of health enemies have, the amount of enemies that there are on the screen at a time. It's like how many enemies you need to kill to meet objectives, how many kills you need to do this and that, like so much would have to be changed to make AI relevant to difficulty. Like, this game would have to become like Doom or Halo or something like that for intelligence to actually mean something. It also doesn't help that we have this like insane quick movement that can just like just get us around everywhere, like so incredibly quickly, and the movement of the enemies is like effectively this fast. Like, they barely run any faster than we walk. And like, that's for gameplay purposes, because if they moved any faster, they'd be annoying to hit with guns. Like, if anyone's ever played the Conclave, they know that how hard it is to hit someone that moves like we do. Next thing about difficult, so like AI is just out of the question as far as like changing it to be difficult. The other thing is like the people complain about AI. A lot of complaints about the AI doesn't come from difficulty. It comes from our ability to use enemies against the enemy. The problem there isn't so much the intelligence, like it's the enemy's damage to the enemy's health ratio. Like, enemies do fuck all damage compared to how much health they have. Like, it seems like a lot of damage to us because we have a little bit of health. Like, we have a little bit of health. Even fucking Inaros with fucking his 7-8k health doesn't even come close to the amount of health that enemies have. Like, if we pull out a nice big dude, old corrupted heavy gunner, and chuck a whole bunch of levels on him. We'll pause his AI. Like, you see how much damage I did? Like, the damage number is 7,000, 1,000. Like, Inaros is dead from one of those bleed procs. Just one of those bleed procs would have killed an Inaros that isn't like maxed every health mod on it And not only did this enemy take one of those, it took multiple of those slash procs, plus the initial fucking shotgun blast to the face. And she's still standing there with just under half her health left. Like, that's an idea of how much enemy health is. Just to show you why things like Nyx's mind control will never be good. Never be good, because for her mind control to be good, it would need to have a damage multiplier of like 10,000 damage to get it to the point where enemy damage actually meant something to the damage that enemies have. The next thing about difficulty in Warframe is we can't just be chucking levels onto enemies either. We can't just be checking numbers onto enemies. We can't just be going, Steel Path is the way to go. Let's chuck another 100 enemies onto fucking 100 levels onto Steel Path and call that difficult, because it's not difficult. Chucking numbers onto enemies just makes things really obvious between the good guns and the good weapons and the truly terrible. So my way heck is 7 former and a ribbon. Really nice ribbon too. 20k damage. Redeemer Prime. 3 former, no ribbon. Shocking Touch isn't even maxed out. 1000 damage. Heavy attack, 11,000 damage. Okay. It's got about half as much damage. Seven former and a ribbon. Have to fucking shoot it like that to kill it. Or I could probably shoot it twice and let the bleed procs deal with it. Or I can just... Yeah. That's cool. How's Rubico go? We got Viral Slash, Hunter Munitions. Didn't get a slash. Didn't get a slash. Got the slash. Ah. Like adding levels, just adding numbers to the enemies, just creates this scenario where The only thing I use is for high level content is this, because it has sprint speed, lifesteal, the new core, to apply status, and Nikana. A ribbon for it. It's not the most amazing ribbon, but it's not terrible either. Mission overload. Arcane. And let me just do this. This is how we kill things. We don't need one, don't need two. Like, do 20. Because this is how effective this is. Nope. And that's how we deal with high level enemies. It doesn't matter how many numbers you stack on these guys, they die the same way. You just have to have the right gear. What adding levels onto the enemies does is it forces everybody to use the right gear. And since DE have a bad habit of using usage stats to nerf stuff, we get to this point where things like the Brahma, an actually good primary weapon that could actually compete with a melee weapon, gets nerfed into the ground. The Brahma wasn't too good for the game. The Brahma was too good for a primary weapon. The Brahma's only fault was being able to compete with melee weapons. And as soon as it got nerfed, everyone went, well, that was fun, back to melee. Currently ribbons for Monokana are getting nerfed because of usage. You bet your fucking bottom dollar that fucking new core ribbons are getting nerfed because of their usage. Warframe can't just chuck numbers onto the fucking enemies and go, there's your hard mode. Warframe can't fuck with the AI to make it hard mode, to make the game harder either. If Warframe wants to make this game hard, it needs to start adding actual enemies that actually do something to make us play differently. I mean, then they've done that. The Eximus, the Assassins, and all that. The perfect. Exactly what this game needs to make it difficult. The problem is, every time they get added to the game, they get called too difficult and they get nerfed. Because Warframe players don't actually want this game to be difficult. This game was never meant to be difficult. If they want difficulty in this game, they need to add things like Eximus units. They need to add packs of Eximus units. Because right at the moment the problem with Eximus units is that they're too weak and they're on their own. There's just one Eximus unit rocks up, a cold Eximus, you just pop it in the head, it's like, yeah, there was an Eximus unit there, cool, whatever. It dropped me an Oberon part, nice, cool, woo! Like, Eximus units need to come in packs, and they need to come with, like, much stronger effects. They need to come in packs, so you can't just pop one of them and be like, yeah, cool. They need to come in packs, so you pop one of them and there's still two more there that are just, like, still fucking your shit up. Yeah, it's a lot harder to kill 3 cold Eximus than it is to kill one. Especially when they're right on top of each other. That's what they should do, because they should work in a squad. He's getting knocked down once by a fire Eximus. Getting knocked down 3 times in a row. Now that's actually something to worry about, because you could get killed. Having 3 frost bubbles up is going to be problematic, because there's going to be guys in there and they're going to be shooting at you, and you can't just shoot through one, because there's going to be another one and another one. They're going to overlap each other. They need to change fucking energy leech Eximus so that they're actually visible for fucking starters. Like, these units could be great to make it a little bit spicier. Add a little bit more difficulty, because that's all it needs. It doesn't need a massive spike in difficulty, just a little bit. Just to make you go, oh shit, I actually need to, like, not be completely brain dead right at the moment while I play this. I can't just AFK the fuck out of this game. I actually need to, like, use my brain a little bit. Like, and then, like, you could have champions like Stalker and stuff come in. And not just Stalker on his own, like Stalker with the fucking acolytes to back him up. Like Stalker with 2 or 3 of the acolytes. And there's a fucking fight that people would be like, holy shit. Because right at the moment Stalker rocks up, and before he even moves off his spot, he's blasted in the fucking head. That's the other thing too. Stalker needs to not just, like, be all edgy as fuck when he teleports in. Like, be kneeling on the ground and stand up and be like, yeah. Like, fuck that shit. He just needs to pop in and just attack straight away. And he should bring a squad of fucking dudes. Like, who remembers when the Wolf of Saturn 6 rocked up for the first time? With his 3 little fucking dudes with him. Well, there's a fight. There's some difficulty right there. Immediately he got nerfed, but he's still a challenge. It's still something that made people go, ooh, hello. There's something new here. There's something a bit, you know. And also, difficulty doesn't come from adding fucking status immune enemies DE. The new fucking status immune enemies in the vault, that's not how you make difficulty. So the new status immune enemies that have been infested in the fucking isolation vaults, that is not That's just how you push crit again. After you rework status. So like, difficulty in this game needs to come from some design changes for enemies that are fairly simple to implement. A lot of them don't require big changes. The enemies already exist for the most part. And I'm sure, like, yeah, some new enemies will need to be created, but that's fine. He's gonna make new enemies eventually anyway for every faction. They always are. They just created the fucking corpus, the new corpus, and the new infested. And they just gave us the liches. So please, guys, stop using AI. Stop saying the game needs better AI. It's not going to fix the problem. It doesn't matter. Like, the AI could be like esports champion good at this game, but we'd still murder it because it's what it's like. The enemies it's controlling are slow, dumb. I mean, not dumb. Their guns are weak. They can't move like we do. We can just annihilate them before they even see us. Like, there's just the unevenness in power level between them and us is just too great for the AI to compensate for. And chucking numbers onto enemies is just gonna push people to use meta, and then those meta weapons are gonna get nerfed, and then everyone's gonna be angry, and all the shit weapons are gonna be shit still. Yeah, stay shit, always be shit. They'll be used even less than they already are. Like, some people use weapons because they're fun, because the level of content is level enough that you can use any weapon you want. Like, one of my favourite weapons in the game is the Soma Prime. Yep. Yeah, the Soma. This really nice ribbon on it too. But like, I can't reasonably expect to do high level content with this, because it's just not good enough. Because, sure, killing a high level enemy gunner that quickly, it's pretty good. The problem is, when you're on the steel path and you're killing an enemy that quickly, that slowly, all the enemies around you have murdered you. Single target weapons just are not good enough at high levels. They never will be. Never will be. The only weapons that work at high levels are weapons that have been nerfed into the ground. Weapons like the Brahma, the Tonkor, the Ogress, the Tsar. These are the only weapons that can cut it as a primary weapon. And that's because their area of effect is big enough. Apparently the Cooper Brahma is like still bugged in the simulacrum too. Apparently I've got fucking shit ton of fucking ammo with it, even though I'm only supposed to have 5. But these are the only weapon that actually comes close to being comparable with melee weapons. Indeed, nerfed it into the ground. Because it was too popular. So, we don't need smarter AI. It's not going to happen, it's not going to change anything. We don't need higher level enemies. That's not gonna do anything to make the game harder. We need enemies designed to make us think and change, rather than just mowing through them with a melee weapon, because that's the way to do it. Also, I'm not sure if they could ever make something like the Soma Prime relevant again. It's just single target weapons just don't cut it anymore. The speed we play this game is just too fast for something like the Soma Prime to be worth using. As much as I want it to be. Unless they like significantly like buff its damage, and like, I mean a lot. It's just never going to be good enough. So yeah, this game's not getting any harder. If you want difficulty, go to Lewis Spires in fucking Steel Path. That's about as hard as this game's ever gonna get. This game is never gonna be hard. This game's difficulty doesn't come from its enemies or anything like that. None of the content in this game is hard. Everything in this game can be done if you simply learn the mechanics and get the gear. If you get the gear and you know the mechanics, you can do everything in this game. Eidolons, Profit Taker, Isolation Vaults, Railjack, every mission in the star chart. The entirety of this. All you need is to know how to do it and have the gear. And it's a cakewalk. Even Steel Path is a cakewalk if you have the gear and you know how to play. So can we stop asking for difficulty in Warframe? It's not happening. It's not coming. It never will. It can't. I literally don't think it can possibly get harder without DE actually fundamentally changing enemy designs. The only way it can change is if D sits down and goes, instead of just throwing enemies at them, let's throw groups of enemies at them that have like specific ways of doing it. We'll send 5 lancers, 2 bombards, an elite squad, and some ancient healers or some shit, just to see how they go with those, and then we'll send, and we'll keep spawning interesting enemies in different ways instead of going, there's a limit on how many enemies I can have of this on the map, so we always want to keep having one of these enemies on the map, so we'll keep spawning one of these enemies. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling and I've gone off topic, and yeah. Anyway, this game's not hard. It's never gonna be. Probably not. Not if D doesn't change, which I doubt they will. So anyway, goodbye.